Alright, so here we are on lesson 8, representing proportional relationships with equations. So this is kind of a continuation with what we've been doing using tables and writing equations and finding constants. Okay, so example 1 says your mother has accelerated onto the interstate beginning a long road trip, and you notice that the low fuel light is on, indicating that there is a half a gallon left in the gas tank. That's the important part. The nearest gas station is 26 miles away. Your mother keeps a log where she records the mileage and the number of gallons purchased each time she fills up the tank. Use the information in the table to determine whether you will make it to the gas station before the gas runs out. You know that if you can determine the amount of gas that her car consumes in a particular number of miles, then you can determine whether or not you can make it to the gas station. So we're going to look at the table. Gallons is going to be X, and miles is going to be our Y. So first it says to find the constant of proportionality and explain what it means. So we're doing Y over X. So we're going to do 224 over 8. If you put that in the calculator, that is 28. And then we're going to check 280 over 10, which is 28. And then 112 over 4, which if you put in the calculator is also 28. So our K is 28. So when we explain it though, that means she can get 28 miles per gallon. Alright, so her car gets 28 miles per gallon, which is always what you hear in car commercials. They always talk about miles per gallon. Alright, part B says to write an equation that will relate the miles driven to the number of gallons of gas. So we know our K, so our equation would be Y equals 28X. Alright, now it says though, knowing that there is half a gallon left in the tank, when the light comes on, will she make it to the gas station? So we're going to take our equation, Y equals 28X, and we know that there's only half a gallon left, and gallons is X, so we're going to do 28 times 1/2. And when we do that, we get 14. So we know that this would be 14 miles because Y represents miles. Now the question is, would she make it? And if we look back up above, the gas station is 26 miles away. So our answer would be no. She can only drive 14 miles, and the station is 26 miles away. Okay? And that's all we're going to do for that. If you flip over to the next page, part D continues on. It says, using the equation found in part B, determine how far your mother can travel on 18 gallons of gas. So we're using our equation, Y equals 28X. We know gallons was X, so we're going to do Y equals 28 times 18. And when you plug that in the calculator, you get 504. So we would say she can drive 504 miles. Okay. Now one last part, part E, it says use the constant of proportionality and then use the equation to determine how many gallons of gas she would need to travel 750 miles. So we're using Y equals 28X. But now they gave us the miles, which is Y, so we'd have 750 equals 28X. So we divide by 28 on both sides. And when you do that in the calculator, you'd round, and you get X is, when you round, 26.8, and this would be gallons. Alright, we have one more example to get through here. Example 2. It says, Andrea is a street artist in New Orleans. She draws caricatures, which are cartoon-like portraits of tourists. People have their portrait drawn and then come back later to pick it up from her. The graph below shows the relationship between the number of portraits she draws and the amount of time she needs to draw the portraits. So first, part A says to write several ordered pairs from the graph and then explain what each one means. So if we look at the graph, we're going to pick a nice one first. So let's start with the origin, 0, 0. And this just means that in 0 hours, she draws 0 portraits. If we want to pick a nice one that's right on a point, so here I'm going to look at 2, 3, which would mean that in 2 hours, she draws 3 portraits. Fix that. This should be 3 here. And then if we pick another nice one, if we go up a little bit, we're looking at 4, 6, which means that in 4 hours, she draws 6 portraits. Right? So now we're going to use those to write a few equations that could relate the number of portraits drawn to the time spent drawing. So we're trying to find our constant k. So if we use, we're not going to use 0, 0. If we use 2, 3, we'd have y over x would be 3 over 2. So we could have y equals 3 over 2x. Or if we use the other one, we would have y equals 6 over 4x. And if we simplified 6 over 4, we would just get 3 over 2. Alright, part C says to determine the constant of proportionality and explain what it means. So we know that k equals 3 over 2, or 1.5. So remember, constant of proportionality is always how much for 1. So we would say she can draw 1.5 portraits per hour. Right, so when it's asking for that constant, we always want to know how much for 1. Right, and that is all for this set of notes, so we'll just do some practice in class tomorrow.